Good morning. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Sunday. So, I have a very quick word that I need to post. The Lord gave me some very specific words this morning. I've actually reached out to um, someone else to deliver their word to them, but this is a word for someone that is watching my YouTube channel, okay, or watching my TikTok, whichever platform it's on. And firstly, I want to just say that this word is not to make anybody feel uncomfortable, or if you're in this situation where you may be looking for a place to stay, or you may be having difficulties right now. This is not a word directly to accuse you and to target you to make you feel like this is the kind of person you are. No, this is a specific word for someone specific, okay? And this has to do with somebody not moving with integrity, not being honest, and somebody having ulterior motives that are very deceptive, basically, okay? So the Lord showed me prophetically that there was a female that lived in this place, and he did show me an apartment building, and he did show me that there was someone that she was familiar with, but she was not close to, okay? They were familiar with, but not close. You know how there's some people you're familiar with, but you're not really close to them. Like, it could be like a friend that you used to be friends with, but you're no longer close, but you know of them, or someone you just met, of them, but you're not that close for you to tell them things about you, or you're not that close for them to come into your home, kind of thing. Or someone that you disconnected from pertaining to your family, where you're no longer that close, but you're aware of them, right? So that concept, okay? So you know of the person, but you're not close with them, okay? And you were in the hallway of your building, and you bumped into this person, and this person came to you and they said to you, "Can I sleep in your living room?" Okay? And instantly, when they asked you if you could sleep in the living room, you were basically saying, "I don't have any space in my home. I only have," I didn't hear the bedrooms, but you said something about you only have a certain amount of bedrooms, but I didn't hear exactly how much amount. But you said you had a certain amount of bedrooms, that it's a small place, and it's not a good size for anybody else. And they were with somebody else. So it wasn't only them that came to you asking to stay with you. They were actually with somebody else as well, okay? And this could be like their child, or this could be like, because in the dream, God showed me another adult, but that could be representation of just them not being alone, okay? So it doesn't have to be an adult. It could be them with their child, or it could be them with like their boyfriend or girlfriend, etc., okay? And also, even though I saw a female in the dream, it may not be a female that this word could be for. Sometimes that happens where God will show us somebody, but it's not exactly the person. It's just the overall message, and it's not the gender, basically, right? So you told them that basically you don't have enough space, okay? And they were like, "I can just get an air bed and blow it up in your living room, and I'm not going to be there that long. I'm only going to be there for a short period of time." And as they were having this conversation with you, I was able to see visions of the person that was asking to stay with you, okay? And the vision I saw of the person was that they like to steal, all right? So God allowed me to see a vision of them going into the dry cleaners and stealing a whole rack of clothes. God allowed me to see them stealing other things as well, okay? So that was just an indication that they do steal, okay? And I remember you saying, "I don't know, like, I'll think about it, etc., etc." And the person was being pushy, and they were trying to rush you into making a decision. And then it's almost like they start to follow you, and then you realize that this was not a good idea, and that they were being overly aggressive and overly pushy. So then you started running. And I remember you saying to yourself when you were running, like, that you did not want them to know exactly where you lived, but they knew the apartment building you lived in, but you did not want them to know exactly where you lived, like the door number and everything. And I remember you kept saying to yourself that you have to make sure that you keep that hidden, because you start to see aggressiveness in this person. So basically, they tried to hide it for a little bit, and tried to make it seem like it's not going to be long that they stay with you, and it's a good idea, and basically trying to be very friendly. But the person who they truly are started to come out of them really quickly once you declined. So they showed who they are very quickly, basically, right? So that can also be an indication that if you do let them stay with you, they will show you who they are very quickly, or before you even give them an answer, they may show you who they are very quickly. Okay, so God was just highlighting that the person's true colors were not positive. Like their true colors, they had ulterior motives. Like they were not 100% genuine. Okay, and the person found out where you lived because what happened was when you were trying to run and you were trying to hide, it's almost like you waited for the right time to go into your apartment and you waited until they were gone. So it looked as if they were gone. Okay, it looked as if they were gone, but it turned out they were not gone. They were actually spying on you and monitoring you. And then what ended up happening was they ended up seeing where you lived. They came to your apartment and then it's like they knocked, you looked out the peephole and you were kind of like frustrated because you're like, wait, how did they know where I live? Not realizing the whole time they were monitoring you, the whole time they were watching you, the whole time they were stalking you. I also want to confirm that the fact that they even knew what type of apartment building you lived in the first place means that they were definitely monitoring you and stalking you before they ended up in your hallway, okay? The hallway was just a setup. Basically, they wanted to make it seem like they bumped into you, but it kind of blew their cover because how else did they know? Like, how would they know that you lived in that specific apartment building? How would they know exactly what floor you lived on? Because remember, you were on your way home and you ended up on your floor and you bumped into them on your floor, right? So how else would they know what floor you lived on and the exact apartment building unless they were monitoring and stalking you ahead of time? I also want to mention that when you were running, you did try to throw them off. So you ran to like different levels of the building. So you took the stairs, you ended up at one point on the third floor, and then you ended up on one point on, I think, like the fourth floor or the second floor, okay? And I want you to pay attention to those numbers because wow, so I looked up number 4 in Strong Concordance and it represents not burdensome. It means weightless, not burdensome, okay? So you trying to run away to kind of like throw them off confirms you made the right choice because to end up on the 4th floor and the number 4 represents not burdensome, weightless, right? So it confirms that these people were gonna be a burden and they were gonna carry a lot of weight. There was a lot of baggage connected to them. Then I also looked up the number 2 in the concordance and it represents father, okay? So I don't know if that means anything to you, but let's continue. And you lost, and you thought you lost them in this process, but they were actually like hiding, pretending that they were gone to get you to feel comfortable enough to go to the correct floor. So yeah, these are definitely people that were keeping an eye on you ahead of time. So if anybody comes to you, if anybody comes to you and asks you for a place to go, just remember that they most likely were already watching you. And then what ended up happening was they ended up seeing where you lived. They came to your apartment and then it's like they knocked, you looked out the peephole and you were kind of like frustrated because you're like, wait, how did they know where I live? Not realizing the whole time they were monitoring you, the whole time they were watching you, the whole time they were stalking you, okay? And they were being aggressive. They were knocking the door. And it's almost like they're trying to break in your home. And then you told them, no, they have to go. They said you're going to call security or call the police. And, you know, they still did not care, okay? So this is someone that you are not close to, but you know of, okay? So God highlighted to me the confirmation of this dream. This is just a take heed warning for someone. And, you know, although, you know, things may not play out exactly like that, where the person's gonna chase you and everything like that and try to break in your home, that is just a representation of the person's aggressiveness and a representation of the person's dishonesty. Basically, they're not genuine and they have ulterior motives. Also, God highlighted the person's also a thief, okay? So be careful if anybody comes to you and says to you, hey, can I stay with you for this period of time, because you're gonna have serious problems. Also, God highlighted that them becoming aggressive confirms that they are the kind of people that once they don't get what they want, and I'm saying they because they're with somebody else, they were both also being aggressive, but there was one main ringleader, basically. So that is just confirmation that if this person doesn't get what they want, they become very aggressive and it's almost like they become very threatening, okay? So this is just confirmation, and the quickness of their aggressiveness confirms that this person cannot pretend to be something that they're not for a long time. Like literally, like they will blow their cover very quickly, okay? So this is a confirmation for someone, okay? We're supposed to be of love, we're supposed to be of patient kindness, and we're supposed to be of help to so many people, right? However, There are certain situations that can get us in trouble, and God will warn us of these situations ahead of time to ensure that we are safe, because his plan is to prosper us, not to harm us, okay? And there are certain people who are carrying certain spirits, and if we allow them in our personal spaces that are supposed to be sacred to us, it can create problems for us, right? So God is just looking out for this specific person. Okay, guys? So I love you guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.